So we can see that the organic concept indeed has the long history and dominant tradition in Western thinking. The Enlightenment philosophers come along in the late 17th and 18th centuries to challenge that tradition. Political society is not an organic entity. It is an artificial arrangement, they contended. Let's examine some passages from Locke's Second Treatise of Civil Government to get a sense of the atomistic concept. God having made man such a creature that in his own judgment it was not good for him to be alone, put him under strong obligations of necessity, convenience, and inclination to drive him into society, as well as with the understanding and language to continue and enjoy it. We can see that right off the bat, Locke begins with a completely different premise. Whereas Aristotle started with the idea that political society is a product of nature, Locke asserts that human beings make a deliberate decision to enter into social arrangements. Note, however, like Aristotle, Locke makes the obligatory reference to language. Next, he proceeds to chronologically trace the development of political society. The first society was between man and wife, which gave beginning to that between parents and children, to which in time that between master and servant came to be added. Conjugal society, or marriage, is made by a voluntary compact between man and woman. It draws with it a communion of interests. Men and women get married presumably because there is a mutual benefit to be derived. Note that Locke considers the marriage arrangement to be contractual. The key to understanding Locke's theory is voluntary contracts. Though these conjugal bonds are more firm and lasting in man than the other species of animals, it would give reason one to inquire why this compact may not be made determinable either by consent or at a certain time or upon certain conditions, as well as any other voluntary compacts, that it should always be for life, to such as are under no restraint of any positive law which ordains all such contracts to be perpetual. Locke is asking whether there are circumstances under which the marriage contract, or any other contract for that matter, can be dissolved. He answers by asserting that there is nothing in man-made law, positive law means man-made law, that would require the contract to be perpetual. Master and servant are names as old as history, but given to those of far different condition. For a free man makes himself a servant to another by selling him for a certain time the service he undertakes to do in exchange for wages he is to receive. And though this commonly puts him into the family of his master and under the ordinary discipline thereof, yet it gives the master but a temporary power over him, and no greater than what is contained in the contract between them. Here Locke is referring to a practice that was very common in the late 17th century known as indentured servitude. A person who was in debt would indenture himself to a wealthy family as a means of paying off that debt. While we don't have indentured servitude today, at least not legally, Locke would probably apply this reasoning to an employment contract. An employer has some authority over an employee in the workplace, but only insofar as what is permitted by the employment contract.